Hi everyone, it's Mrs. Wine. Welcome back to art class. Today we are going to be creating a practice Notan collage. The best material for that practice is 2 sheets of construction paper in colors that are very different. So I have a blue that's very dark and a yellow which is a very light color. You will also need a pair of scissors to cut with and either glue stick or glue bottle. Now, I know you're working at home, and if you don't have construction paper, you could also try this project with a sheet of white paper and a photograph from a magazine. But you need to look through the magazine and try to find a sheet of paper that has a colored picture that's kind of dark on both sides. So you don't want the page with all the white writing. So the first thing we have to do is we have to set up our paper. And for this week, you want to take both the sheets of construction paper, and I'm just lining up both sheets, and I'm going to fold those sheets of paper in half. The short way, like a hamburger bun or a taco shell, however you want to think of it. So I folded both my sheets at once, because this is just practice and I can take a little shortcut. Then, when you unfold them, what you want to do is you want to cut right along that fold because since we're just practicing, we don't need to work with a whole sheet. This will give you a couple sheets you can experiment with. So I'm going to take one set of these and I'm just going to set them aside. Then you need to decide which piece you want to be the background paper. It doesn't matter which one. I'm going to use yellow for my background paper. And I'm going to take the other paper that's not the background. I'm going to fold it in half the short way, like a hamburger bun or a taco shell. And I'm going to cut it in half. Now, if we are in the building, I already have this paper cut for you in the exact right size, but if you're working at home, you have to cut your own paper. If you are working with a magazine sheet, you will need a half sheet of the plain white paper, and then probably the best thing to do is to take that other half of the white paper. You just need to make sure that this piece is exactly half of that. So if I want to use this paper, that's the scrap that I don't need. I'm just using this other sheet to measure with. So it doesn't matter whether I'm using construction paper or if I'm using the magazine piece, it would be the same, as long as the magazine piece is the size of half of your background paper. Now, once I have that done, I'm ready to get started cutting my shape. So when you're cutting your shape, you are not cutting your background piece, you're only cutting the small piece. And you want to make sure that you're cutting a shape out of the long side of the paper, not the short side. It's also important to make sure you leave a little bit of room at the top and a little bit of room at the bottom. I like to leave about a finger space at the top and a finger space at the bottom. So I can turn it this way. I'm going to leave that finger space, take my scissors, and just cut out a shape. It really doesn't matter what the shape is. It could be a geometric shape that you can name. It could be an organic shape, a weird wiggly shape without a name. I do want to work on my cutting technique and make sure that whether I'm using straight or curved edges, they are as smooth as possible. But you can see I left some space at the top, some space at the bottom. I cut out my shape, and I have the piece that fits down in it. Now, you can set this piece aside for now, and you're ready to go ahead and glue this piece on. So I can take this piece, and again, it doesn't matter which side you glue it on. So I'm going to take my glue or my glue stick. I never put the glue on my background paper. I always put the glue on my shape, and I just want to apply that glue stick or glue bottle, whichever one you have. I try to get as close to the edge because I'm using glue stick, as close to the edge as I can. I work quickly so the glue stick doesn't dry. And then once I have the glue stick applied, I'm going to flip this shape over. I'm going to line it up as close to perfect as I can and glue it down. Now the idea of a Notan collage is I want a positive space shape and a negative space shape. So if I want to keep my collage technique pretty simple, I just take this shape, I fit it in just like a puzzle piece, and then all I have to do is take this shape and I just flip it over. It's just like I'm turning the page of a book. I line it up perfect. I could apply the glue to the back of this shape and I could glue it on. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to flip it back in. I'm going to apply the glue to just that shape. And then I'm going to take that shape, I'm going to flip it out just like I'm turning the page of a book. I line up the corners perfectly and I press it down. And as simple as that, I've created my first practice Notan collage. But what if I want to make it a little more interesting? If you want to make it more interesting and you need a challenge, you can try a double flip. So I'm just going to try that on the back. I have another half sheet of my paper, and it starts the same way. Leave a little bit of space, leave a little bit of space, cut out a shape. I really like those organic shapes because I think, oh, I'm caught. Oh no, because I think they're super interesting. I don't want to cut too close to the edge, but I do want to make sure that my shape is so big that it's going to mostly fill up my paper. And I left space at the bottom, space at the top. So again, I set this piece aside and I can put glue on the back of this. And I flip it over, I line it up, and I press it down. Now, if I were doing a regular Notan collage, I would put this in like a puzzle piece, apply the glue, flip it over, and glue it. But now I'm going to challenge myself a little bit. And in order to do that, I'm going to cut a second shape out of this straight side. It's important that your second shape is cut out of the straight side and that you leave that room at the top and bottom. And the second shape doesn't need to look anything like the first. So I'm going to leave a little bit of space. I can come in here. I'm going to cut not too close to the edge. So now I have lots of pieces. What am I going to do with those? leave the small one aside and start with the biggest piece. How would that piece fit back in here? That tells me when I fit it in, this is the side I need to put the glue on. I'm careful, trying not to get glue on the piece that I've already glued. And then I turn this piece out just like I'm turning the page of a book. I line up the corners, and once I have the corners lined up, then I press the shape down. Now I have this shape. What do? I start the same way. I fit this shape in like it's a puzzle piece. That tells me that this is the part that I want the glue on. I apply the glue, and then I take my smaller piece, fit it in like a puzzle, flip it straight out like I'm turning the page of a book, and I have it. So you have two techniques that you can try. You could try the single flip for your Notan collage, or you could try the double flip. If you want to practice it at home this week, that's great. Remember, take care of your supplies, twist the glue stick down before putting the lid on. If you don't have construction paper or paper at home to try this week, it's okay. We're going to do more practice next week. So try it at home, try it at school, any way you want. But above all, remember, have a wonderful week and keep on creating.